Howdy, guys. Attorney Walter Hnot. Let me go ahead and pull myself down. There we go. A little bit better. A little bit better. Now I'm not all. There we go. All right. So here's the deal. I wanted to do a bit of activism for supplemental security income to help explain to people specifically one of the hidden aspects of how state supplementals actually work. I wanted people to understand kind of the basics with what they are. I wanted to explain to people essentially what the reasoning behind them is. And at the end of the day, I want you to understand why they even exist. That's kind of the whole thing with this. So stay tuned. We're going to be going through it, but the main thing is the dirty secret. So let's go through it real quick. Here we go. All right. First thing you need to know is that some states obviously have state supplementals. You can look them up. It's super simple. California has one. Alaska has one. A bunch of states have them, but not nearly enough. What is a state supplemental? It's a financial amount that is given to the recipient of federal SSI benefits. That's your supplemental security income benefits. So let's say you get your federal check, your 841. You then get on top of that an additional amount, a state supplemental benefit, which increases the overall amount that you basically need to go ahead and live in that state. Now, they sell that state supplemental as essentially an amount extra because it's more expensive to live in that state. That's cute, but to some degree, that's a little bit BS-y. So I'm going to tell you the real reasons behind essentially state supplementals, why certain states use them, but more importantly, how other states use them as a means of excluding you from going to their state. Let's go through it real quick. All right. The thing is that red states typically do not want SSI recipients as much as blue states. SSI recipients, when it comes to annual work product, when it comes to, working and paying taxes and buying things, SSI recipients obviously are not working much, if at all, and mostly not. And they're not really buying that much, right? Because they don't have that much money. Red states tend to prefer workers, so they reduce the likelihood of SSI recipients from accessing enough money to live in those states above the federal base payment amount for SSI. So the little thing is this, a lot of the reasons why these red states don't have a state supplemental is because they don't want SSI people moving into that state. They want workers. They want people who can, buy things. That's what they want in the red states. Now, there are some red state exceptions. An example of that red state exception would be Alaska. Alaska has a state supplemental. Alaska can be extremely expensive to go ahead and live in. But Alaska needs numbers. So when it comes to one particular state where they need to get as many people into that state as possible to be living there, interacting there, etc., and they're pretty much getting to that point where they're there. But the point is they needed, and they still need, a lot of people to move there. So they offer that state supplemental on top of SSI to get them there. Now, what you need to realize is that more citizens in a state, or that a state has, the more potential and preferential treatment that state has from the federal government, also including the bailout options that are there. They can receive these bailouts, preferential treatment, more senators, more House reps, if they have more citizens in that state. So when you kind of think of it that way, you start to realize that's where this balancing act is going. You have some states, the red states, that don't want SSI people because they're not part of the agenda of the working population. And then you have some states, that essentially want to add more population, want to have more voting power, want to have more capacity to go ahead and get preferential treatment from the federal government, more potential funds in a disaster, etc. And they're going to want as many SSI people as they can get, hence the SSI supplemental. All right, so let's talk about that real quick. Think of this kind of like a school that gets paid by the amount of students that they have. Schools play a similar game to get as many students who will follow the programs that they have in place so that they can graduate these students and not have to spend as much per student, okay? So at the end of the day, students that cost the school more through violence, low scores, and administrative attention are a cost factor. So the red states foster an identity of work hard, right? Get in there, work hard, achieve things, right? While the blue states foster more of an everyone welcome societal existence state. This is why the red states tend to promote less taxes and what's yours is yours, while the blue states tend to promote that your efforts are part of a larger community and that high taxes will make things flow more smoothly. Okay. You won't hear a red state person saying that they should be taxed more because they use the roads more and that the people built that infrastructure. Yet the blue states will say that people paid for part of your infrastructure, so you should be taxed more as a result of it. Realistically, red states, blue states, they both tax the amount of vehicles, the fuel, the high amount of weights, like how heavy your truck is, and tolls. So at this point, you're paying in both the red states and blue states, whether you like it or not. Now, which brings me back to this whole SSI situation for the SSI people. Okay. Society as a whole does not know what SSI goes to, right? So most people in America just don't know what SSI is, or they don't know who it goes to. They don't know that it goes to the elderly, the disabled, the immigrants, and the refugees. As a result of this, and there's other groups as well. As a result of this, for SSI, they usually get lost in the news. The purpose, the reason they receive the benefits, it's just not usually very clear in the news. So, as a result of the average American not understanding the SSI person's true needs, we end up with a dilemma. Okay. But more importantly, from that, states based on their supplementals dictate how much SSI people they actually want to move into their state. The problem for the red states is that they need more representatives. The problem with the blue states is that they are struggling to afford their state supplements in high cost to live states. So both the blue and the red states are playing a dangerous game. So what it comes down to is, as an SSI person, do you want to go ahead and be in a state that expects you to push hard, work, and afford things like the red states, or the blue states where they're going to give you a supplemental, but there's going to be some other issues with cost of living being particularly high, etc. Now, obviously, there are some states that don't follow these rules. These are just the generalized. But that's the dirty secret of the SSI supplemental, is that states that want more people, more numbers of human beings in their borders, they're going to offer it. The states that want more workers, more, taxes spent, you worked, you made money, blah, 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 that kind of gig, in that instance, red states. And red states, they just don't want essentially a lot of the SSI people because they don't want to have to pay not only a supplemental, they also don't want to have to pay out more food stamps and all the other auxiliary benefits that usually go with SSI. So that's the dirty secret. I hope you guys enjoyed this show. If you found this show to be at all helpful, please leave a 5-star review. Please remember to like, subscribe, and also, above all, use that 5-star review. I'm putting the link right there in the chat section. Now, the question I have for you guys is this, and I'm wondering if you guys want to weigh in on it. If you guys have lived in a state with SSI supplemental benefits, right, where they give you an extra check on top of your federal 841 or whatever SSI amount you're getting, was it enough to convince you to stay in that state? Or were you thinking, I'd rather move to another state that doesn't have these state supplementals? I'd take less money, but I'd live a better life. Not that the red states would be a better life. I'm just saying, what did you guys find? If you lived in a state with state supplementals, was it worth it? Or wasn't it worth it? Anyways, guys, I will catch you a little bit later. You have an absolutely wonderful night, and we'll go from there. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.